Loud. Thank you, Oslo. We have followed the live show. There are so many interesting chats and so many interesting talks. This is awesome. My name is Sachin. I'm live from London. And with me, I have Phil Carline from Kingfisher. Phil, could you please introduce yourself and also talk a little bit about Kingfisher? Who is Kingfisher and what's your differentiation and growth strategy in the market?
Yeah, thanks, Sachin. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. So who am I, first of all? So I'm Phil Carline. I'm digital content. I lead the digital content function in Kingfisher. So who's Kingfisher? So we're a international home improvement company, largely DIY, but also trade across 9 countries in Europe. We have in the region of 77,000 colleagues, and typically we will serve your consumers at home doing their DIY home improvement projects, as well as professionals in the trade industries. A bit more on us. So we are around about £11.5 billion business. Most of that is in the UK and France. As I mentioned, 77,000 colleagues, 1,300 stores across the European market. We are a group, so there are a collection of operating companies across Europe. We are powered by Kingfisher. We have group capabilities, so we leverage a lot of the technology, centres of excellence, our supply chain, shared services, etc., across the group to give us the scale and enable the growth in accordance with our strategic ambitions.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you.
From a Kingfisher perspective, what are the industry challenges that you're facing as a DIY industry, and how is Kingfisher really responding to it?
Yeah, so in the backdrop of when we were looking for an MDM capability, which was about 4 years ago now, we were facing a number of challenges. So like a lot of organizations, our product data and content was not in a single solution, not in a single source. It was distributed and fragmented across the organization. If you want to do a project that involved product data, you weren't going to one place. It was a multi-system environment. This meant rolling out any technology across the group and leveraging the benefit of our group scale was really difficult. So what we were looking for was, or the backdrop of what we were looking for was challenges with the availability and the accessibility of our data. In terms of a market environment, the growth of digital was both an opportunity and a challenge to us. So, as a traditional bricks and mortar business, we were faced with a lot of competition coming in the digital space and with organizations and businesses that were digital only. And with that competition came differing challenges with customer expectations. So customers' expectations were far greater than they had ever been. And just having a good storefront and a website wasn't enough. We needed to scale that and meet these growing customer expectations. And as I mentioned, the proliferation of online competitors was a big challenge in that space. The availability of products and services in any market via multiple fulfillment routes, it just became the norm. So we were expecting to have to look at how we could grow to meet those challenges. And one of those areas was certainly going to be our digital platform, but also with our ability to scale and extend our product range to meet those challenges. So that was the background. Our individual challenges were, as I mentioned, about building that single view, if you like, of a product and having that golden record, that single source of product data. Because with that, we could then enable flexibility and ensure our product data could be available to whatever end channel, end system needed it. So that was one of our challenges. With that, though, also brings the challenge of how do you govern that, and how do you ensure your processes around that are lean and efficient, and growing that product data and enriching it to under a single set of governance rules was really important. And then lean processes around that, with fragmented systems, distributed data across those systems. There wasn't commonality in process. We weren't scaling that. It was all very manual. We weren't leveraging any automated capability. Validation of data was a nightmare. Spreadsheets everywhere. I mean, it's not an uncommon story. And I think any organization that's grown in the quite traditional way that Kingfisher had over many years, you end up in that place. So the need to standardize our data, leverage commonality in terms of best practice, common processes, and a single set of governance across that was key.
Thank you. This is very insightful. How does the MDM program enable you as a business? And based on your experience as a DIY business, what would be your advice and reflections for the construction industry?
So the way we've looked at building value from MDM and some of the advice I'd give. So I touched just now on systems of record. Having a single source of product can't be underestimated in terms of the scalability that gives you. A single view of product means that when you connect with other systems and have that connected, whether it's upstream, downstream, and whether that's internal or external to your organization, a single source of truth that an MDM solution should give you is invaluable in that sense. It certainly enables you to make your data available, and by availability, in Kingfisher, that's both internally in terms of our colleagues who utilize our product data, but obviously, of course, our customers, our retail customers who are interacting with our data, whether that's in store or online via one of our digital channels. So that becomes a heck of a lot easier with a single MDM solution, a single source of truth. With all of that, though, you have to put in place governance and standards. So defining your product data is really key. In a retail business, we're very data driven in terms of the need for good data and content for our customers to make buying decisions, not only for our customers, but also to enable us to be present and effective in search in Google when customers are searching, not on our site, but external. They're using Google. The only way you're going to be up in the top of those results is if you've got good data and content that's well optimized to appear high in those search results. So you need good standards. Once you've got those standards and you've got data, you have to govern it in the right way to maintain those standards. There's effort that's required to define principles, data principles, to put policies and practices in place, to know what data you require when you go to an external party and request information. You have to do that work, and you have to govern that so that you're maintaining those standards going forward. And it's not something that's great on day one, but by day 100 is a complete mess. You can't have that. You've got to put the governance in place to ensure that you get the continuity and you extract that value going forward. And then the last thing I'd say is flexibility of the solution, which should bring simplicity. So a single solution, if implemented in the right way and with the right connectivity around it, should give you the flexibility to scale and grow, and where needed, connect and interact with other solutions and systems. So in Kingfisher, we've built an API service layer around our MDM, or around a number of our solutions, but specifically MDM. That's meant that any new solution, whether that's internal or external, that comes along, should just be able to plug into that service layer. And that means we can then make available our product data to whatever end system might require it. That type of architecture has meant that new projects, when they come along, are relatively simple. So from a product data perspective, so we've moved from that dysfunctional, disparate, multi-system, multi-source of product data view into that single source, single MDM solution, one golden record view of the product with a service layer around it in terms of its architecture that now allows us to interact and connect with other endpoint solutions, internal and external, which gives us simplicity and scalability.
Thank you. Phil, how has the COVID-19 pandemic influenced your business plans, and how MDM has enabled you to respond to the change?
Yeah, so it's a great question, and clearly every organisation, every individual's been touched by this in some way, and Kingfisher is no different. The advantage it has that's given Kingfisher, though, is being a home improvement organisation with everybody at home, has meant that people have stopped spending money on holidays, which is a shame for the travel industry, but has meant they spent money on their homes, which has been a big bonus for Kingfisher for sure in the time that COVID's been taking place. Clearly, our number one priority when it all happened was about operating in a safe way. So we're fortunate that as a business, a lot of people are able to work from home in a safe way. We briefly became a pure digital business because we, in some of our markets, because we had to completely close our stores for a period of time, and with that brought obviously some significant challenges in terms of the way we do business. We're a business that traditionally people go into store to buy our products. That wasn't possible for a period of time. So we became this pure digital business, like a lot of our competitors actually, we face competition in a lot of our product categories who are digital only businesses. We became a digital only business, but not only that, we are effectively having to accelerate our e-commerce strategy to be able to adapt to the way customers were being forced to shop. Now, fortunately, we didn't have to close our stores for too long. However, we found that the post stores opening back up again, people haven't gone back to their previous ways of shopping completely, and we've seen that digital and e-commerce remains an incredibly attractive way to customers to shop and buy our products and services in a way that wasn't the case before COVID-19. And what we've seen is that some of the strategic initiatives we had on our roadmap that were perhaps 2 or 3 years away, we've accelerated and brought them forward, and we were implementing some of the initiatives, some of them in a tactical way, in 2 or 3 weeks to enable us to adapt and grow. And one of the ways we did that was through the way our customers shopped with us in store. So they couldn't go into store, but we could still fulfill orders outside of our store. In the UK, we started to use a drive-through capability, a drive-through proposition. That wasn't something used in the UK typically before then, and we had to adapt our product data to support that. We were making certain products available for that method of purchase and taking other products off. Some of that was to do with we weren't allowed to sell certain products, and we had to adapt and scale to that quite rapidly. And our MDM capability, where we'd implemented it in the way I previously described, meant that we could do that relatively straightforwardly. It wasn't a massive challenge from a product data perspective. And of course, one of the things that happens in any time of crisis that you have to make priority decisions. And some of the initiatives we went into this year expecting to deliver and land, we had to completely stop. They were no longer viable. And some initiatives, as I mentioned earlier, particularly in our digital and e-commerce strategy, we rapidly brought forward and have executed, perhaps not in the perfect way. But we didn't need to be perfect, just get it done was our mantra. Enable customers to shop and buy from us was the most important thing. So we weren't perfect in our execution always. We're working on that now, looking at what a really top-notch good service does look like. But you have to make those priority calls, and we had to make some of those. You know, we'd stopped big projects, but we accelerated and brought forward some.
Thank you. It's very clear that some of the building blocks, very, very important building blocks, were already put in place. Could you please give us a view on how you have operationalized your PIM and MDM program in a bit more operational sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there's two parts to the operationalize question in reality. So the first part absolutely is about technology. And I've talked already quite a bit about implementing a single source of product data. The MDM has enabled us to do that. Building around that the right service layer, the way you connect and interact with other systems, fundamental to being able to operationalize and leverage that capability. So that technology part is really, really key, because you want to be able to interact and plug in other systems in a seamless way, in a straightforward way, and access that product data which you've got in your MDM, which is a single source. So that's really key. The other part, and for me it's perhaps more important, is how you operationalize from a business point of view. So do not look at it as just a technology project. Getting the business on board, getting the value out, understanding how you leverage the capability in the right way to deliver value to your business functions and your business teams, and delivering that change is really important, and in many ways more so than just the technology. But you've got to get them both in place for you to be able to operationalize the whole thing. So I find that these types of projects are far more effective when they're business led, for that reason alone, and not IT or just technology driven. And if you can get that right, then you absolutely should be able to operationalize an MDM solution and scale and meet your business goals.
Thank you. These are really interesting insights for other leaders who are either beginning their journey or are in the middle of their journey, shaping the outcomes of the journey. What will be your advice in choosing the right PIM and MDM platform, and why did you choose Riversand?
Okay, so I'll start with some of the key advice. For sure, and I've talked about some of this already, being business-led on this is really important, and thinking about what the outcomes are for your business, the goals you're trying to achieve. You have to start there before you start thinking about what capability you need. I think once you've got clarity of what you're looking to achieve, then start to think about the capability and the type of capability. When it comes to MDM, that might seem really obvious. Well, I'm solving a product data problem or a master data problem, but don't think of it that way. Think about the outcomes, and then that will drive you to the type of capability you need. From there, you can then move into requirements at that lower level. Don't start just with requirements. Start with the outcomes. Think about the capabilities you need to meet those outcomes, and then get into requirements. I definitely look, when you're embarking upon this type of program or project, look at how you can extract value early and deliver some sort of success early on, rather than trying to look for that big bang goal at the end of it. I think the sooner you can deliver value, not only will it help with the momentum of the program, but it'll also help take the various stakeholders, particularly in the business, along with you. If they can see it's adding value early, they're going to go with it and roll with it. And then as you get to perhaps the bigger ticket deliveries, later on, they're already bought in. That's definitely going to help, and I'd strongly recommend that. The other area I'd certainly recommend is expertise. So I talked just now about operationalizing. It's not just about tech, but clearly, if you haven't got the technical expertise, you need to go and get it, and that's either bringing that in-house or working with the right partners. That for me is a given. You should always do that. But I would also think about how are you going to land this type of program and this change into your business. And business change is often overlooked in terms of in favor of just getting the technology delivered. Absolutely should be considered. Focus on the business change, focus on the outcomes, focus on the way it's going to change your business, who's impacted by it, the benefit they'll get from it. But business change is not an easy thing to get right. So absolutely go out and get the expertise if you don't already have that. And then the last thing I would advocate would be strong sponsorship right from the outset. So even before you get into that initiation, you want a strong leader, a strong sponsor or sponsors behind this, and you want them right the way through the definition, the discovery, the implementation, the delivery, all the way through those traditional phases of the program. But I do advocate that they continue to sponsor and be present and visible beyond that, and for the life of this of your MDM project or your MDM capability. Don't just think of it as a project. It's going to be successful, and you're going to leverage more from it, the more value from it, if you've got sponsorship that's there from the outset right through implementation, but beyond that, into the business as usual, and continuing to advocate it and drive it forward, because there will always be new requirements relating to MDM, and without that strong sponsorship, you're going to find it's a struggle to maintain that momentum once it's initially delivered. So those would be my key lessons. Sachin, you asked me also about my advice for choosing the right platform, and perhaps why did Kingfisher choose Riversand? So Riversand, when we first engaged with Riversand 4 years or so ago now, we were embarking upon quite a large-scale digital transformation of our business, and we needed a platform to manage our product master data, to enable our digital platform to scale and roll out across our business, across our group. And so we had a number of technology, I guess, checkboxes that we had to meet to enable us to scale. So, the ability to rapidly roll out our platform was fundamental, and we needed a technology that was heading in the right direction in terms of our own internal view of where we needed to take our technology. And without a doubt, Riversand met that. Definitely was aligned from a strategic point of view in terms of the technology capability. It met the multi-language, multi-market requirement that we had, and certainly had the scalability. So, Kingfisher may not have the largest catalogue out there, but we have a very broad and the breadth of our attribute data, our content that we hold is significant. So that scaling was fundamental. One thing that is key is that when you're thinking about partners, is that when you're thinking about those outcomes and those capabilities that you need, is that you find the right partner who's absolutely in tune and in line with helping you to achieve those goals. And that without a doubt, we found in plentiful with Riversand, and the vision that Riversand had for their product and for enabling Kingfisher to be successful was really key to that. And then lastly, the general direction that the capability, the technology itself was taking. Riversand definitely is in the more innovative space versus a lot of the MDM providers out there. There's no doubt about that, and we have confidence in the fact that the direction of the technology is absolutely in line with the direction that we're looking to take our business, both from a strategic business perspective, but also from a technology perspective. So there was alignment both in terms of the here and now technology, but an alignment also on the future direction, and that's been key.
Thank you, Phil. This has been very insightful, very valuable. And one thing that I can say from a Riversand perspective is that Kingfisher has also enabled Riversand to shape itself in the direction of serving the DIY customers for the scale that Kingfisher really operates at. We found these insights very valuable, your lessons very valuable at both the strategic level, but also on a very hands-on tactical level, really at an execution level. With this, we thank you very much, and we now go back to Oslo for the remaining part of the event. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Been a pleasure.